Good.
Okay, well, I'm recording too. All right.
Okay, great. I'm glad you're here, Elijah.
Thank you.
And yeah, so um you do breath work and you
Yeah.
do is it a Fiji breath work?
Effigy. Effigy.
Effigy,
Yeah. Yeah.
effigy breath work. And what happens with that type of breath work? How is it different
Then other
like any
types of
other
breath
type?
work.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you done any breath work?
No.
Okay, no problem.
It's been a while, it
Yeah.
has
Well,
not recently.
you're
Yeah.
certainly breathing, so that's good. I
Yeah,
thank you
right,
for breathing.
exactly. Oh,
Well,
thank you.
so breath work as a term is really generic. It just means the conscious use of your breath. So,
Right.
uh, just before I fully answer it, I'll just say that, like, of all of our internal organs, only your lungs can be operated manually or automatically. And in a way, it's like a metaphor. I mean, we're animal, so we don't have to think about any of our organs for them to work, including our lungs. But when you decide to like take a breath, that's breath work. It's just consciously using your breath. And if you put together, the breathing through your nose, breathing through your mouth, the left side, the right side, holding breath, these are all the breath work methods you can come up with. But the one that I do, Effigy is my brand, but it comes from a family of practices about 5,000 years old from India, and it's breathing through your mouth, really strong. And it's basically consciously hyperventilating. And you breathe like this for an hour and you enter an altered state, and lots of fun things happen. You release a
Wow.
lot of energy. We can actually do 10 breaths together if you want to do a little experiment. And then I can tell you what it is and what the difference is between this and other techniques. You want to do that? And we can offer
Sure.
your listeners and at their own expense, not expense, but each, we're only
Sure.
going to do 10 breaths, so no danger to you.
Okay. No, that's
So,
fine.
yeah, so just follow me. But all we're going to do, the focus is in the center of the chest. We're breathing through the
Okay.
mouth and we're focused on the inhale, and meaning breathe as full as you can on the inhale, only focus on the inhale. And we'll just do it together. All right, and I'll count.
Okay.
Here we go. And then just close your eyes
Okay.
and feel that. So you can feel some
I
energy
like it.
moving. Yeah.
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 I'm echoing. I hate to
Oh,
tell you that.
sorry. It's because I put original sound on. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been able to hear me breathing. So we should be good now.
Oh, I see. I apologize. I just didn't
Yeah.
want the listeners to get upset or something.
Yeah.
Sorry. There's an
Yeah.
echo in here. No, it's all good. That was interesting. I think at first I wasn't catching on. I'm sorry. It just
Yeah.
took me a little while. I have asthma, mild asthma. So I think sometimes it's like
Mm.
breathing I think I have a lot of trauma around it. So I think it just
Well,
takes me a while to
this is the
yeah.
perfect conversation to be having because
Yeah.
you can apply it directly. Well, so
Mhm.
asthma, I think our first trauma really is coming out of the womb, and often people that have asthma, it's a fear to it's both a fear to live and a fear to die, right? Like part of it is
Yeah.
it doesn't want to take a breath, but there's a fear that if you could you might die. And my son's mom, who I met, she came to my work. She had really super severe asthma.
Oh.
Couldn't be anywhere near cats and stuff. And also, her
Mm.
father he started birthing centers. He was a gynecologist, and he birthed like 10,000 babies. So she had all this birth
Oh.
trauma around asthma and breathing, and did this breath work a couple times and never had asthma again. So that's
Oh my gosh.
so it's a
This is awesome.
we're taking the force of the universe, the light,
Yeah.
the chi that's in your breathing, and by breathing this way, like breathing it in so strongly, you're opening up, you're taking in that energy into the body, and it just starts to open things up. So its
Yeah.
purpose. to me is to release trauma, which is just the way energy, you know, trauma is anything unresolved, your energy gets stuck. And that's why
Yeah.
people just sort of repeat things in their life because they can't move the energy through. So when you breathe like this, there's no avoiding like going to an altered state and going to the place of trauma and releasing it. And that's really its purpose, at
Wow.
least the way
It's
I do it.
remarkable. Yeah, it feels safe with you too. I felt safe. You
Oh,
feel you're a
thank,
very
thanks.
calming presence, I feel. Yeah,
You should
definitely.
talk to my ex-wife. I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
okay. Just
Well, no,
right. No, we won't
I
go there.
that
Yeah.
I've been doing it for 35 years, and it's the nicest thing you could say because I am gentle and kind, but
Yeah.
I am dealing with a very rigorous, intense, scary part of life, which is facing things that we're afraid of. So I try to be safe,
Yeah.
but there's I'm also pretty fierce, kind of have to be because of
Yeah.
yeah.
Right. How long have you been doing this for? Since the 90s, right?
In 1990, I was living in Toronto, and this guy was moving to California, and I knew his wife, and she asked me if I'd help put stuff in storage. I could get one of these breathwork sessions from this guy. So I was a broke musician, so anything free sounded fantastic,
Yeah.
except for the work part. That I didn't really like that idea, but I did it, and it was life changing. And then I followed him out to the Bay Area where I live now. And I moved out here and sort of ran his show for about 10 years. And then I just tried every breath technique there was, and I came up with Effigy in 2001. And I've been in it
Wow,
since
that's
then.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's my next question. Is breath work dangerous? And what is conscious hyperventilation?
Well, I think that if somebody breathwork sort of come into the mainstream like meditation. So if somebody tries a breathwork practice, I don't think you can hurt yourself. Um, in the yoga community, they have pranayama and they'll tell you be really careful and stuff. And my experience is you can't hurt yourself with it. But this practice, because you're breathing through the mouth and it is a form of hyperventilation, it's really, and you're going to come in contact with really deep things. It's best done with a guide. But yeah, I don't think it's dangerous. But I will say hyperventilation has this kind of connotation, which and all it means is hyper more than enough and ventilation. So, but I have doctors in my family, and I had a center in San Francisco next to the hospitals, and I've had a million arguments with doctors about hyperventilation. So when someone has a panic attack, they start to do this
Yeah.
kind of breathing. But this that I'm doing is a conscious hyper. You're choosing to do it, and you're choosing to do it with a space holder, like someone who's there to make sure that you're safe. But I also
Right.
have waivers just so you know that you're responsible for what happens.
Of course, you're
Yeah.
right.
But
And
I've never
yeah,
seen anything bad happen ever, and I've breathed
yeah.
tens of thousands of people. So
Oh, wonderful. How long does it take? I know we did 10 breaths, but
yeah.
if I came into your office, what would a session be like if you and I did
If you
something together?
came into my office, you'd
Mhm.
see a Zoom camera and a computer and some lights. But I don't. I mostly I travel now, so my office is me. But if
Wow.
I'm breathing people in a group or privately, the breath work is an hour. So it's 1 hour
Okay.
breathing like that without stopping.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
That's
And
really great.
when we play music, I play music during it, and the music actually I've is all music I've composed. So if anybody goes on the
Oh,
streaming services and look me up, I have like 25 volume hours of music just for breath work.
oh, how wonderful. Just to go into your music, do you play an instrument? What kind of music do
Yeah.
you play or yeah.
Well, I was trying to be a rock star in my 20s, a songwriter with a band. So
Wow.
I'm 60 now. But
Oh.
oh, it's too it's a
Well,
I
you look young. You
Thank
don't look
bless
60.
you.
Yeah.
Uh, I feel great right now, better than I did when I was
Yeah.
younger. But So I play a lot of instruments and I have a studio. So the music for breath work, there's different stages. So some of it's very rhythmic and percussion instruments, which is my weakest, but I play piano and guitar. I studied Indian music, at Raga. And so I have a studio in my house. There's three pianos in there and 25 guitars and drum set and basses and all that stuff. So it's a kind of my favorite, I work with the public, helping people to heal, but like the one thing I'm doing when I'm home is I'm always recording something or
Oh,
playing.
how wonderful. That's really great to be creative. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, I like art, I like to paint, so it's something I like to do on my own outside of, my job, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. It's therapeutic probably for you too, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we sort of in the generation I grew up in, like there was so much focus on the idols of rock stars and actors. It was sort of like only these special
Hmm.
people did creative things, but maybe 100 years ago, the whole family sat around the piano and sang and somebody played. And I feel like
Right.
for our health, like we need to be creative and express ourselves, whether we sell or make a living off of that. Yeah. What kind of painting do you?
Right. Yeah. Oh, I do everything. I do abstract, I do different scenes. I paint angels.
Hmm. What are
I
you
like
doing?
watercolor.
What's
Uh,
the last thing you were working on?
I did a pouring project. I don't know if you know what pouring is. It's
Pouring?
acrylic and it's
Oh,
it's
okay.
it's like you pour the paint on the canvas and you kind of move it
Oh,
around.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
interesting. It comes up
Yeah.
I made like a giant painting out of it. It was really awesome. And I called it the Year of the Dragon because it
Hmm.
ended up kind of looking like a dragon. It was really remarkable.
I'd love to
I mean,
see
I'm
it.
not trying to be arrogant, but
No, I'd
yeah,
love to see it. Is it
I'll
for
have to
sale?
send it to you.
Well, I mean, the
Not
drag.
yet. It might be. Yeah.
Well, there's two parts to my work, and the second part
Mhm.
involves, well, let me go to the end of it if you want to hear the first part.
Yeah,
Okay, but
sure.
I've been to China 20 times and I studied Mandarin and I studied internal martial arts, which is based on Taoism and it's based on 10 animals. And the dragon is the most important animal. So there's a lot of movement related to the dragon because it can coil in two opposing directions. And dragons in China are considered very joyous. They're not like we think of them here like fire breathing,
Yeah.
evil. They're considered the holders of abundance, and you see them all over China. So I have a huge interest in dragons. So
Oh, interesting. And this is the Year of the Dragon
yeah,
2024.
yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
it's pretty interesting how it all worked out. Yeah. I'll
yeah.
definitely send some of my artwork and I'll probably put it on my website too. I
Okay.
really
I'll let
enjoy
you
it.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how long you said a session usually lasts about an hour with you, but after someone comes in and does a session with you, how long do you recommend that they come back to see you to
Um,
maintain this?
well, uh, first of all, the way my effigy is sort of structured now. I have a business partner and she's been with me for 12 years and we teach together, but I do right now. I travel. I go places and I work with groups and stuff, and I do some private work. I did actually a breath work last night with somebody here, but in general, uh, it's usually group events. So, and they're 3 hours, and the first while is they get a reading from me, and which based on my book, the trauma code. Like I give them a reading around their. Here's my book. So
Oh yeah, I
I've
love
got
that.
that.
Oh wow, beautiful.
Um, so I will. There'll be some sort of discussion to go into the breath work. The breath work's an hour, and then you need some time to come back, and then we have a little chat, and then off they go. So if
Yeah.
somebody loves the work and they want to do more of it, I could I could be hired privately, but I have programs and things, and we have immersions. And in an immersion, sometimes we breathe twice in a day. You can do a lot of it, but it brings a huge change into your life. So if you're not ready to go through that change, it's not good to do a lot of it. So it really is dependent on how much change you want in your life. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, everyone says they want change and healing, but if you're in the wrong life and that change comes, it's going to turn your life upside down. So there's some sort of balance between, elevating the spiritual part of you and becoming who you're meant to become, and also being able to let go and change the things that don't belong in your life. And the breath work, it
Oh,
really is just an accelerant of your karma. So whatever your lessons are and the things that are going on when you breathe, it just speeds it up. So if you need big change, you can do a lot of it. It's
oh,
also
I see.
rigorous and challenging. And people hate
Right.
it. And I say you don't even need to like it. It just works. But you have to, it takes a certain concentration or rigor to breathe like that for an hour and face all the things that come up.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Does it probably brings out a lot of emotions maybe after someone does it for the first time, I bet. Maybe
every
they're
time,
releasing. Yeah.
yeah, it's very emotional and but it's also really physiological. Like,
Yeah.
if you were to breathe, the first thing that would come up would be the trauma of asthma. Like you would immediately
Yeah.
start to even though it's ironic because you're breathing and yet there'll be a feeling while you're breathing that you're going to die. Like that will
Yeah.
probably come up. And if you keep going, the program will release and you'll be free. But it takes
Yeah.
some courage to do that because it's really can be very emotional. Yeah.
Yes, I bet. And you have a book, is it called the Trauma Code, you said?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful
Beautiful.
cover.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
People can get it on Amazon, right?
They can get it on Amazon and they
Yeah.
can get it on my website.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to talk about it a little bit, your
Sure.
book, or please.
Well, the
Yeah.
idea of the full title is the Trauma Code Uncover the Hidden Map to Your Life's True Purpose. Um, so the idea of the trauma code is that people think of trauma as these bad things that they need to get rid of.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, there's the adverse effects of trauma, like there's big trauma and small, but like the big trauma, let's say you had abuse or something like that, there is this you end up in abusive relationships or you don't trust or whatever. But that's because the energy is locked up inside you. But I say that the trauma itself is part of what is like compost for your garden. It's not just something to be gotten rid of. So, like your phone, you swipe it to unlock the code, and then you can open your phone. If you can, there's a lesson inside trauma that is part of your life purpose. So the trauma code is that the problem when it's stuck, you know, when you release it, it becomes part of the fuel for your life purpose. So that trauma is in our life to help us to fulfill our life purpose, but we have to unlock its power. So that's kind of what
Yeah.
the book is about. And there's
Oh,
a section on the breath work and a section on the second part of my work. So I say in trauma release, there's two pieces. Piece one is
right.
release the energy of trauma so you can go back to your original configuration. Like when you're born, you're an acorn that wants to be an oak tree. And then trauma happens, and then something is locked up, and the trajectory of your life happens, and you have trouble getting to becoming the oak tree. So the first
Yeah.
step is just to release the energy. And then the second step is to manifest your life purpose. We have all these patterns, these habit patterns of movement in the body and different and in the mind. And so I use Taoist movement practices that I um, learned in China to help people to become who they're meant to become in their life, to manifest their life purpose. So,
Wonderful.
yeah,
And how is your breath work? It's called effigy, right? I just want to make sure I'm
yeah,
pronouncing it right. Effigy
effigy.
breath work.
Yeah.
How is it different than the other techniques? Like, is it Wim Hof method?
Yeah. Well, Wim Hof is it, he's the most popular, like most people have heard of
Yeah.
him, and he's
Hmm.
incredible man, had this incredible story and stuff. And all the, cold plunges and ice baths, that comes from Wim
Yeah.
Hof. But
Okay.
Wim Hof's work and his breath work is sort of based on mastering the mind, like it's more like a life hack. And I
Hmm.
see this breath work as more about being vulnerable and confronting, not confronting, but coming in contact, encountering things that are difficult. So philosophically, I mean, there's lots of breathwork methods, but mine is just exclusively focused on just releasing what is stuck. Yeah.
I see. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. And what is the difference between using breath work for transformation and plant medicine?
Oh, wow, that's a great question.
Mm.
Um, yeah, well, so, plant medicine's popular,
Mhm.
ayahuasca and DMT and all these things. And, I think the thing is your breath is your life. It's within you. And so it's very empowering when you're doing breath work to heal yourself by just your own breathing. But when people take plant medicines and things, two things happen. One, you're using an external substance to generate the higher awareness that you get to. But my experience is you're only going to integrate those experiences based on the work that you've already done. So sometimes people haven't done any work on themselves and they don't have um, a good process in place, end up being thrown forward into really profound realizations of things that they don't really ready to know or can integrate. And with the breath work, it's because it's only your own consciousness doing it. You're only going to go as far as you need to go and then integrate and keep going. It's like layers of an onion. But
Yeah.
yeah, oftentimes when people do the breath work, they say it's so similar to plant medicine without the plant medicine. And my experience is that people who come in who've done a lot of plant medicine, I usually meet these people in Miami and the Bay Area. These are the kind of two places where everyone likes psychedelics and plant medicine. Uh, they it's in their body, in their pores, and they start breathing, and the medicine comes out. I can smell it when they're breathing. So
Wow.
which means it's not moving through. Yeah. But
Mhm.
not to say I don't have anything against psychedelics or plant medicine or drugs. I've taken LSD and stuff. I just think
Wow.
they have a law of
Yeah.
diminishing returns, I think.
Yeah. Right. I agree.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what do you do a trauma program?
Yeah. Well,
Do you? Yeah.
so somebody can you can get if you go to the website, we have a newsletter. I write all the time.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to hear from me, don't go on the newsletter. Or you'll unsubscribe or just delete them if
Oh.
you like. So that's free. There's a community forum. You can ask questions. That's free. There's my book. Sometimes we have virtual online classes. We were doing them every month during the pandemic, but I just stopped about 2 months ago. We have one coming up October 27. And
Oh.
then we have a 1 day trauma release every now and again. And next year we're going to do a 9 month program, a 9 month trauma release. So for it's all personal development, but some people will be training for facilitator to become a facilitator and other people doing just working for themselves. And then I'm traveling, and everywhere I go, like I'm going to be in Boise for 3 days, so I'll be doing like multiple breathwork classes and movement. I'm going to the Netherlands for 7 days. So depending on
Oh.
who my host is and how many people are interested, the I'll do more or less. So there's all kinds of levels to participate in. Yeah.
Oh, and that's neat that going back to your newsletter, some people like to get stuff.
Yeah.
Like I like to get things from people. So
Yeah.
it would be interesting to get it from you because I mean, any kind of information is just great. I just soak it in, you
Well, I
know.
had this big realization. Can I share it? I'm
Yeah.
excited.
Yeah,
Well, there's
definitely.
about 6,000 people on my list, but the amount of people that actually engage is quite small. And all these years, I'm always trying to think, well, how to how to be more like I use the newsletter to educate about the work. So if somebody comes to the breath work, they have, and sometimes I'm telling stories of people or about myself, or it's just whatever I feel like doing. But
Yeah.
I a couple days ago, I have a lot to say right now. Like I haven't left my house in 5 years, and I traveled so much before, and now I'm out again, and I got the book and programs, so I'm saying a lot. And I thought I wrote two newsletters that were very personal. One was about my health, and one was about a eulogy I gave when my mom passed away 10 years ago. And I thought that's enough.
Oh,
I don't want to bother people, blah, 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 blah. And then I had a session with somebody just yesterday, and he's new. I met him when I was in Canada, and he said, well, first of all, he said, this program that you're going to be doing next year, I only wrote about it twice. He said, I want to be one of the 12 people. And I said, well, you don't even know when it is or how much it costs. And he said, no, I'm reading your newsletters every day. And I said, well, I was going to just lay off for the week because I feel like I already shared it. And he said, my wife and I wait for your newsletters to come in to read them. And I said, really? And then I had this
wow.
epiphany. I'm not talking to 6,000 people. I'm probably talking about 25 or 30 people. And then last night, the same thing happened. The woman that came to breathe with me, who I had no idea she was reading my newsletters or anything, she said the same thing. And so I ended up putting out a newsletter last night and today and realized I have to stop thinking about attracting people to my work and just keep speaking to the people who are already interested in it. Because my whole life,
Exactly.
in all the 35 years I've worked, I've never advertised or done anything. And the people who always have come to me have found me through some weird means or another. And like, it's never, I, I liked during the pandemic, I liked not leaving the house. And we tried like
Yeah.
online ads and tried to be an online business. And it really didn't work because I'm a connector and I'm magnetized to people who want to be close to what I do. And that's really my life. Like, I don't know the whole way that the people do their advertising and connecting and selling of their wares. It doesn't work for me. So I just realized, like, I hope that, 5,000 people unsubscribe because I really just want to talk to the people who are interested in what I have to say because that's natural for both parties. So,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
interesting. Right.
yeah.
Well, if you build it, they will come, like they said in Field of Dreams, right?
It's it's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Do you know the
Yeah.
human design at all? You ever heard
Yes,
of?
I do. Yes, definitely. I
Oh,
do know that. I had a
so
human design person on here as a guest. Yeah.
oh wow.
He
Well,
did my
I'm an
chart. He's
ego. Oh, he did your chart. Are you
yeah.
what's your type?
A manifesting, a
Manifesting
manifest.
generator?
I think so. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
which is the builder.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm
Yes.
a pure manifester, just manifester, called an
Oh,
ego manifester. And manifestors, we have a closed aura, and everything we discover is internal. So we're just here to inform humanity, but not participate in it. So most of the world will not trust someone like me. I'm suspicious because I'm not taking feedback or taking cues from the world around me because I just seem to just do what I'm doing. So my best thing is to say, this is where I'm going, and then let people come or don't come. And when I do that, everything works great. But when I try to like win approval or try to be part of anything, we're basically manifestors. We're just solitary beings that are not really meant to participate in the matrix. So once
oh,
I
I
got that, it
see.
was like,
Interesting.
oh, okay, this isn't a wound. This is how it's supposed to be. So
Right.
yeah.
Exactly. That's
But
interesting.
manifesting generators, you have a little bit of manifestor in you, but you're
Yeah.
you're primarily a generator, but that part of do whatever you're going to do and don't worry what anybody thinks, we can share that in common. Like if
Oh,
you want to make a
good.
painting,
Yeah.
whatever painting you want to make, you're not going to go out to your neighbor, like no one said to
Mhm.
Picasso, no more greens this week. We need more blues to sell to the art gallery. Like Picasso just
Right.
himself. So that's manifesting energy, and you have that too.
Yeah. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And
Yeah.
how do people release trauma?
Well, I think the reason why there's this billion-dollar wellness industry is that it's not that clear. Like, well, first, the way I define trauma, and I put this in my book, is any event that is unresolved. So it doesn't mean like your parents were bad to you. Like it could have been you were in your crib an extra 10 minutes and you thought you were going to like, and much
Yeah.
of it is pre-verbal, and it doesn't have to be, it just has to be how you experienced it. And because the soul is trying to be in the body, like the soul doesn't, the you you come here to learn lessons. So experiences happen, but when you're in a certain place in your life, you don't have a way to understand or to organize that. So anything like that is trauma. But the reason why it's very hard to release trauma is that part of you, everybody, develops programs, ways to make sure that you don't re-experience the pain of the trauma. So it's your mind is out looking for evidence all the time of possible threats. So you might say, "Oh, I really want to change. I really want to release trauma," but your unconscious, your mind is saying, "Yeah, but I don't want to have any pain." So you might think you want to experience things, but there is a lot of protections in place from getting in contact with that energy because part of the program thinks you're going to die if you come in contact with it. So the reason why I've been doing breath work for 35 years, this type where we should do 10 more now that we've talked.
Yeah,
Like,
sure. Yeah.
and this time, keep in mind two things. So I'm doing this breath work because if you breathe really full on the inhale, just like each breath,
Yeah.
you're taking the force of the universe, excuse me, into your body, and it's like a journey that's going to bring you back. It's going to go into your all your cellular memory, and you're not going to have ability to control coming in contact with it. So we're just going to do 10 breaths, but
Yeah.
over the course of an hour, it's a guarantee that you'll release it. And what I like about the practice that's very democratic is you don't have to be healthy because it's not physically difficult. You don't have to be young. You don't have to be
Mm.
spiritual. You don't have to believe anything. If you just breathe like that, you will release trauma if you have, a guide with you to help you to keep going. So
Yeah.
it's my
Oh,
long answer to
wonderful.
your short question. So do you want to
Like
do
that.
10 more?
Yes,
Okay,
I do.
so you mute your thing, and I'm going to turn on my original
Mute.
sound so
Okay, I
people
will.
can
How do I do
hear
that?
me. Yeah, and then so just to be clear, is that the exhale doesn't matter. It's just all right here. You're going, and then you're letting it go. But there's a clip to it. It's about like this. So we'll do it together. Are you ready? Here we go. Really full as you can. Okay. And then just let it go and close your eyes for a minute. And then when you're ready, you can unmute and tell me what that felt like. It's a lot of vibration. And I'll just say somewhere on our website, there is a free video to do the breath for 3 minutes guided by me. We just put that up, and it's a cool way to try it. So how is that?
Cool. I loved it. It was amazing. I
It's-
just felt like I released a lot of things. I felt exhilarated. I just
yeah.
um I I just felt really good. I was kind of tingling. I don't know. I
Yeah, yeah. You start to
just
feel the chi, you feel the energy, and
yeah,
there's
the
a
chi.
vibration starts moving through
Yeah,
your body. And that's
right.
only the first 30 seconds of an hour. So
Yeah, I really like that. Thank you for
you're
doing
welcome.
that. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really great. Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I have a couple more questions if you
Sure.
have time for a
Yeah.
few more.
Yeah.
What role does the mind play in trauma?
Well, that's also a really great question. So we think of the mind, when we're talking about the mind, I call this the linear mind. Part of what I have in my book is I say there are four levels of the mind. I say there's four minds because
Oh,
in the West, we think about meditating, like watch your thoughts, and we think of the mind as in our inner dialogue and that sort of thing. But your body mind, you was just happening when you were breathing. The body was processing, giving you thoughts as sensations. So I say there's four minds, and each one of them has a specific function. But we've been trained in our society to just be on that linear level, to like learn how to read and write and get a job and use your skills to get money, and like you'll be rewarded for that. But what about the emotional intelligence? What about understanding your body, the body mind? So all four of those levels are really affected by trauma because your higher self, your true potential, comes wants to use your functions to be a clear and grounded person so that you can go out and fulfill yourself. But at the time of trauma, that energy gets stuck. The linear mind, the one I think you're referring to, you have disorganized thinking, you have wrong thinking, you perceive things incorrectly. Like I think you're bored listening to me because everyone in my family didn't want to hear, like this is the
mhm.
mind becomes quite delusional because of trauma. So when we
Yeah.
can release the energy, my goal, and I've never heard anybody else sort of say it this way, is that the mind starts to tether to these higher levels so that instead of your mind trying to have vision and your mind trying to sort out your relationship and your mind trying to figure out how to get a job, you you bring in your awareness and your magnetism, and you become open to what wants to happen, and then the linear mind makes the plan from there. But most people are just trying to control everything from the mind. And it's part of a trauma program. And I would even say a cultural trauma, a cultural collective trauma that we have, that we value the masculine, we value thinking, but we don't value the feminine. We're not trained in school to be in the emptiness, to be in the creativity and the feeling and the imagination of who we are. Now, when you're painting, there's one part feeling and there's one part skill. There's one part heart and one part mind. You do need to acquire skill, but our society is so heavily focused on skill, which is the mind, and not
Hmm.
on uh, the creativity and the availability. So uh, that's
Yeah.
me yabbering on about all that.
No, I agree with that totally.
Um, in the front
Yeah.
part of my book, I have this picture, and my friend, he's a cartoonist in Canada. Uh,
Wow.
he he drew this for me, and basically it describes four levels of the mind, which have four animals in Taoism. That A visionary mind, which is the tiger, the energetic mind, which is the feminine, that's the domestic cat, the linear level mind, which is the snake, the organized
Mm.
uh, masculine part, and the animal level of mind, which is the chicken. Chickens are descended from dinosaurs that had their feet on the ground for 250 million years. And then
Yeah.
four regions of the self, which is your horizontal relationship between you and the world. And then there's four animals for that. So four levels of
Interesting.
mind and four regions of the self. This is
Wow, I love,
part of my
yeah,
system.
I love the cartoon that your friend, really
He
interesting. I like that.
he didn't necessarily make it so
Beautiful.
much a cartoon, but he's
Or,
some famous cartoonist in Canada, and I was
oh
like,
yeah.
and I'm a fan of his. I knew him from back in the
Oh,
day,
oh,
and
okay.
so
I
he
like his work.
oh his name is, shout out to Wes Tyrell is his.
Oh,
um I'll show you one other picture that he did.
yeah, I
uh
like his work.
Yeah, well, so I'm saying that there's two planes of existence. There's a vertical plane, which is between the earth and spirit, and that's the levels of the mind, and then a horizontal plane between you and the world, and that's the and so he drew this, which is yeah, you can't
Wow.
yeah, so that was
I
his drawing of the
can
vertical levels
see
of
it.
the world.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that.
So
That's
yeah,
neat. Yeah, really cool.
yeah.
And that's in your book.
It's in my book,
Yeah.
and next year I haven't the book, the original book I wrote was 300 pages, and then it took me a year to make it like only this long.
Oh
I
my
chopped
goodness.
out all the work of the four levels and four regions, so I'm just finished that book yesterday, and it's going to be
Oh,
part of my program next year. I'm not.
that's
I'm going to
wonderful.
give that and give that to the it's not necessarily for the public, it'll be for people in my program. It's called From Realization to Manifestation, the four levels of the mind and the four regions of the self.
Oh,
So
I love that. That's wonderful. I'll have to get that one. I can't wait. You'll
yeah,
have to come back on the
I would
show.
love to come back.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And another question, what are the steps to manifesting your life's true potential?
Well, in the most general sense, I say there's two. And the first one is, well, if you're born with an original blueprint, like an acorn that wants to become an oak tree, and you have trauma, that energy gets locked up in the uh, you can't fulfill your life purpose. So the first step is you have to release the trauma and reconnect to who you really are, to that essential core nature. And the second step is then you have to take that, like let's say you have an idea for a painting, you still have to do it. And so the
Right.
second step is to manifest your life purpose. You have to take my Tai Chi teacher used to say, he was a antique collector. If you think your if you think your antique is worth something, take it to the auction house. So some part of you have to like take your true self out in the world. And that's a way more complicated step because there's a shared matrix that the world's not going to just give you what you want. You come in contact with people in relationships and conflict, and you have to learn how to adapt. And by the way, that adaptability is the dragon, because the dragon has infinite circles and spirals. For every spiral it makes in one direction, it can spiral in the opposite direction. So it's a play of opposites. If you take a sphere, it can go this way and this way and this or the all these different directions, but infinitely. So a dragon, what it teaches you is infinite choice and infinite possibility. So when I share dragon movement with people, it's to show them that like how to become infinitely available to choice so that you can fulfill what you've meant to fulfill.
Oh,
So
that's wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And what are the biggest challenges to healing and transformation for people?
I said in my book there's the two biggest problems that come from trauma are perception, that your mind no longer sees reality as it is. It's filtered through an invisible lens of trauma. Like if I put my hand here, I can't see that my hand's there. It's my blind spot. When I'm driving, I have a blind spot. Basically, trauma creates a blind spot and it makes you not see what you don't see. So then you start to perceive and interpret reality incorrectly. And the second thing is you're averse to feeling. You have things you don't want to feel. And because of that, you end up living your life as a person avoiding experiences because you don't want to feel things. So to me, the biggest blocks that come from trauma are not wanting to feel and not seeing things as they are, which are obviously big problems if you
Yeah,
have.
exactly.
And that's
Right.
ongoing. Like I've been working on myself for all these years, and I'm 60, and I'm, it every day. As I say, every day I know less and less. Like I'm realizing how how unclear I can be even now. Yeah.
Right. I get it. No, I understand. Yeah. And my last question for you is
Sure.
our tagline for the Electric Spirit podcast
Mm.
is igniting your spirit. And how do you ignite your spirit?
Oh, well, whatever you are passionate about, regardless of how linear it is to fulfilling it, how much it makes sense. Like, do you have the money to buy the tools? Do you have the time to do it? Do you know how to do ballet in your 60s? Like, it doesn't matter. Everybody has things. And if they think about it right now, like, what's the one thing that you are passionate about? There has to be something. And it's not about getting to the goal. It's about taking the action of just investigating. So I think it's the investigation that ignites spirit. It's just
Yeah,
taking the journey, and don't worry about getting it right or doing it well or skillfully, because there's just no such thing, really.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I'm so glad you were here. And I don't know if you want to just tell the audience maybe how they can find you online
Yeah.
or what you
Well,
offer on your website. You sort
yeah.
of did, but
Yeah. Well, Effigy, EFFIJI, effigy.breath.com has everything, and you can just hit the contact button if you want to ask something. I mean, Sarah, my partner, she will be the one to get the email, but she'll forward to me. But if you want to reach me directly, but you can sign up for the newsletters. You can look at the offerings. It's pretty. It's meant not to be complicated. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. And
effigy
where are you
breath.
on social media? Are you on
We're on
Instagram?
Instagram and Facebook. I myself go on and off from social media. I'm not
Yeah.
sure it has any inherent value to the work we do, because I think, but we are on those two.
Okay.
Yeah, and we go on and off of like doing postings and things, but it doesn't really seem to have too much value.
Impact.
This is, yeah, I
I
mean,
see.
there's so much, particularly since the pandemic, there's so much I think people are just so strung out in their attention and
Yeah.
and being bombarded. Like, the reason why I started to
Yeah.
go back out in public again is I think people want to connect in person and have real
Hmm.
relationships. So that's what I'm focused.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's really nice. That's great.
yeah,
And on your website, it'll tell like what you're offering, like
yeah,
upcoming things and where you're traveling
yeah.
to, and if people want to
Yeah,
come and see you,
all
that'd be
all
great.
that's there. Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
and just both of my last two books, this one and the one before, are on audiobooks on all the streaming services and Spotify and
Okay.
Audible and all that. So,
Yeah, I have
and you can,
Audible. Hmm.
yeah. So
Yeah.
the both books are on audio, and all my music is on every streaming service.
Oh,
So
how beautiful. I'll have to check out your music.
yeah,
It's just under your name,
yeah, just under my,
right?
yeah,
I mean, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't know if you had a
yeah.
band or if it was, some people
Uh,
call themselves different things,
yeah,
so
that's
yeah,
true.
you just never know.
Mostly it's other
Um,
people calling me different things.
oh,
So,
hopefully it's good. I bet you're a
yeah.
really nice guy. You're a very calming energy. I just it
Thank
felt
you.
really positive talking to you today, and
I
I
really
really
enjoyed
enjoyed it.
speaking
Yeah.
with you too. And you're a psychic,
Yeah.
right? That's all.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes, I am.
I could feel you reading me while I was talking. And what I
Hmm.
liked about it is, as a manifester, I
Yeah.
I people have a binary response to me. It's yes
Right.
or no. And
Hmm.
if somebody like yourself has able to real read people accurately, I'm usually
Yeah.
like, I'm not triggering to them. Um,
No, you're not.
but
I
if
feel like you're a
you're,
really nice
thanks.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, my dog thinks so.
Aw. I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize.
No, no, that's I
Yeah.
appreciate what you're saying, because you're giving me a free reading on your podcast.
Yeah. I feel like you really care about people and you really want to help people. That's what I feel. I feel like there's a genuine concern for others and a genuine, wanting to help other people. And I feel like you have a talent. You want to, even through your music, because music is very healing. I love music and I listen to it every day. Ever since I was a kid, I love music. It's so important to me. And it just, what you do and to listen probably to your music can heal people. I mean, you might not realize it, that you may be healing other people through your music.
When people are in the breath work, the music is really important to them. And I've definitely created my own genre of music because it's not for entertainment. Like if you listen to my music during the breath work, it's not new age music. It's some of it's very intense and evocative. But if you don't
Yeah.
remember it, then it worked because the goal of the music is to take you deeper into yourself. And I I feel like I have done that, and the music is such an essential part of the work that I do, but I don't generally end up talking about it much because what people are interested in the topic of them and what's going on in their healing world, and not necessarily about the music, but uh, music. The Hindu phrase "Nada Brahma" means sound is God. Like ultimately, sound comes from silence, and sound is to me the fastest path to the divine. So it's an
Yeah, it is.
integral part of how I do the breath work because it's one of my bigger tools. So yeah.
Right. And
Um,
I recently read in a medical journal, and I don't have anything to back it up right in front of me, but it did say that music is a very, very healing, and just listening to it. I don't know, certain types of music
yeah,
for maybe
maybe not
10 minutes could really
everything.
heal you. Yeah. Right. Maybe not everything.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah.
Maybe not
Yeah, this
country
has been
music.
great.
No, I love country
Maybe
music.
not.
Well,
Yeah.
I
Or
think I think different music for different
right.
functions. Like there's something
Sure.
this time of year and it's a little fall and stuff. Like I came back from
Sure.
I was just in Boston and in the morning I've
Oh,
been putting on classical music, but I'm not like someone who like really loves classical music. But first thing in the morning, and I've turntable. I've
that
been putting on weird classical music.
beautiful.
But I wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily, put it on at a party or something or use it for
Right.
breath work.
Sometimes I like classical music,
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
used to. Yeah, I used to
I
have
mean,
dinner parties when I was in college and play it for the people
yeah.
there. It was kind of fun.
Do you have a
They
favorite
liked it, so
artist or a favorite artist currently?
let me see. You mean like for classical or just
And no,
everything?
anything, no, anybody, like
You know
what?
what? My favorite singer is Stevie Nicks since I was 5 years old. So
Wow.
that's who I
Yeah,
like. Um,
yeah.
I think she's
She's a
interesting.
Gemini.
Yeah,
Uh,
she is. I like Geminis.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's quite profound and like, uh, yeah. And I mean,
Yeah.
I love Stevie Nicks, but I also just
Yeah.
profoundly love Tom Petty more
Oh
since he
yeah, I love
passed
Tom
on.
Petty.
But like their
Definitely.
relationship and like the depth of it, and like, she tried to join his band and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like
that was cool. He's a Libra and she was a
he was a
Pisces, or
Libra.
not a
Yeah.
Pisces, a Gemini. I'm a Pisces. Yeah, they were a
Ah, you're
cool duo.
Pisces.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
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 You want to guess
So,
my astrological coordinates?
mm, I could sense, I feel like you've got Earth in you. And I also feel, I wasn't even sure maybe if you were a Gemini,
Well, you
maybe
got
you have
two parts.
Cancer.
That
Hmm.
you got it right because my sun sign. Well, you'll as soon as I tell you my sun sign, you go, oh, that. But I
Hmm.
have five planets in Capricorn, which is Earth,
Oh, okay.
in the
Yeah.
house of Gemini. So people often think I'm a Gemini because I have Venus, Mars, Mercury, which is
Yeah. Right.
in the house of Gemini, and my sun, which and so people think I'm Gemini like, but I'm a Sagittarius.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, that's
So
cool.
little
Yeah.
talk. Gemini and Sag both like to talk a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both want their freedom, but
Yeah.
Sagittarian talk is more like this is where I'm going. This is like I'm shooting for the stars, and Gemini is like just explore
Yeah.
information. I'm not. I'm kind of the
Yeah.
opposite of that. Yeah,
It's interesting. Also, I'm a life path 5, so I like my freedom. So it's kind of like, and
yeah,
it doesn't have to come from my sun sign, it comes from numerology, right?
Yeah.
I like my freedom. Yeah. But I have mostly earth in my chart. I'm I'm heavily earth, like my moon's in Capricorn. I'm
Ah,
Virgo rising. Yeah. My
okay.
Venus is in Taurus. Yeah.
Oh, Venus and
So
Taurus.
interesting.
That's good to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Pisces, having Earth as a Pisces is probably very helpful because every Pisces I
Yeah.
know is trying to pretend they're earthy because they're so floating out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, I think that right. So I think
Yeah.
having a moon in Capricorn, a Virgo rising helps
Yeah.
me keep my
Yeah.
feet on the ground. Yeah. So
My
it's
daughter's
interesting.
Cap moon, so was my mom.
Oh,
Capricorn moon is you get to know them very
yeah.
serious, very
Yeah.
responsible. Yeah.
Well, Stevie Nicks is a Capricorn moon.
Oh, that
Isn't that
makes sense.
interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Uh,
Yeah. Who's your favorite artist?
well, if we're talking about songwriters, it's and singers, it's Bob Dylan.
Oh, yeah. He's awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I listen to everything he's done. I last year I went to this huge phase, and I mentioned his name because he's not that popular. Is Paul Westerberg?
Oh, I
He
know him.
was in
Yeah.
the Replacements from
Yeah.
Minnesota. Such a beautiful songwriter, such a genius, such an incredible, interesting guitar player. So I like him, but I also like Keith Jarrett. So that's jazz. I studied North Indian classical music, raga, so I can listen to raga as well. So I
Interesting.
I'm eclectic. I mean, I like Eminem.
Wow.
I
Well,
mean,
yeah, I like Eminem too, and I actually know
yeah,
him. So
you know him.
I'm from Michigan. Yeah, I had a
Oh,
when I worked somewhere, the lady that I worked with and back in the Detroit area,
yeah.
she goes, "Well, my friend, or my not my friend, she was married to this guy, and she's like, well, he's best friends with Marshall." And I'm like, "You're kidding me." And where we worked in the Detroit area, Marshall actually lived down the street. It
Well,
was on Hayes Street in a city in the Detroit
mm.
area. And we went over there and we used to hang out with him. He's a really nice guy.
I'm not surprised that he's a nice guy. I feel like
Yeah.
he's such a good actor and he's so satirical and he has such a good sense of humor that I think people think he must be an asshole or something. And you
No, he's
kind of
not.
see he's a Libra, right?
Yep, he is a Libra.
You know how
Yeah.
many
Yeah.
Libra, Tom Petty, Paul Simon, Eminem, John Mayer, Bruce
Oh,
Springsteen, Jackson Brown. So
oh my gosh.
lot of Libra
Yeah.
wordsmith
That's
people.
cool. I
Yeah.
like Jackson Brown. I saw him in concert. He was really good. I think I was
I
third row. Yeah.
I saw him. I had third row. My daughter was just born. This was 30 years ago, and she was like less than a year old, and I put stuff in her ears. And he
Oh,
stopped the show and came down to the stage. He's like, "What are you doing? Like, you can't have a baby here. It's too loud." And I just like, she's good.
oh,
And he's like, "Oh, okay." And then he went back to playing.
that's nice.
Yeah,
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 he's really great.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm so
Well,
glad you were here. Yeah,
yeah.
I'd love to have you back when your book comes out when next year?
Uh, Probably January. I mean,
Oh, really?
soon
That
as we're,
soon.
yeah, the book's
That's amazing.
finished, so it's more a question of
Yeah.
coordinating it with other things. So yeah,
Yeah, I'd love to have you back.
okay. Well, let's
Maybe
keep
not so
in touch.
soon, but maybe like next
Yeah,
summer or something if you have time or
you sound like every
uh,
woman I've ever dated. No, I'm just kidding. I'd like
right.
to see you again, just not soon.
Right. We'll see each other in 6 months. Just
Yeah.
kidding. Yeah,
Well,
right. Yeah,
it's absence makes the heart grow fonder.
exactly. Well,
Okay.
this was
Yeah,
amazing. I really appreciate your
yeah,
time and
yeah.
everything. This was
Same.
great.
Okay. Good
Thank
to
you so
talk to you.
much.
All
And we'll
right.
be in touch about the
Yeah,
release and everything. Thank you
yeah,
again for being here.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.